the second episode that we have of Returning to Love. And this is like cheers to everything that you're doing. And this little piece of broken
Lana kahia moi lana malie aoia I. You're right. You have to find an excellence that you feel like you get out of bed for. You practice, you discipline. Discipline is such a joy. If that joy in discipline keeps expanding your excellence, there's no telling where you can go.
What is aloha to you personally?
Aloha is an elemental force that is the source of all other values. So whether you use it as a greeting, whether you use it as a farewell, whether you use it as a synonym for deep loving, compassion, whatever you use it for, it's you. It's not the word, it's you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Manu, for being here. This is the second episode that we have of Returning to Love.
Hey.
Today, we have a very special guest all the way from Hawaii. Her name is Dr. Manulani Aluli Meyer. And I want to share with you here that I have a very special connection with Hawaii. I think I mentioned that to you earlier, which is like way back in October 1999, I visited Honolulu. For a World Youth Congress. It was called the Millennium Youth Congress. And I was selected to represent India out of 150,000 students. And we talked about the Millennium Development Goals. There were kids from 180 countries then. I didn't even know 180 countries existed at that time. So, that was the first country that I ever visited out of India. So, it was really very special.
Wow.
Yes. And one of the things that stood out for me, of course, it was having a voice, young people having a voice in the development agenda in the world was something very important. But just being in Hawaii, just being in that energy. And as soon as I entered, I remember, feeling this freshness. Like I felt I was part of Earth. I was not part of some modern world with industrialization. There was some sort of freshness in the air. And I was welcomed with a garland, of the tropical flowers, which was very special. So for today, the first Hawaiian I'm meeting after 23 years, whom I'm going to have a very intimate conversation with. So I want to reciprocate that love to you. And I have got for you a very special Indian garland. Okay. This is like made from mogra flowers, and I made this myself. Each time I was putting these flowers in the thread, I was, passing that love to you. Although it's an e-meet, but I hope you can feel the love and the fragrance of these flowers. So yeah,
That's
Manu.
beautiful.
So yeah, thank you for coming from that space, and I'm sure this conversation is going to be very special. So I want to let our the audience know more about you. So if it's okay, can I call you Auntie Manu in this interview and for life? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So Auntie Manu is the Associate Specialist at the Chancellor's Office in the University of Hawaii. Her doctorate is from Howard University, and she has overseen more than 30 doctoral candidates in the area of indigenous epistemology. She serves the Mona, which is the mountain, the Ayana, which is the land, and the environment. She is heart-directed, and this is not in a sentimental way, but in a deeply grounded sense of aloha and of love. She has dedicated her life to understanding and sharing the profound teachings of aloha and hulu, which is new words for a lot of people, and we'll talk more about that in the conversation. Um, so, Aunt Manu's work is spiritually grounded and carefully framed in the ethical and practical boundaries of, I don't know if I pronounce this fine, but it's called Ho'oponopono. Again, a new word for us. And it's a Hawaiian ritual practice of reconciliation and forgiveness. When we talk about forgiveness, it's very interesting how I've met Aunt Manu. I am very grateful to Sanjeev, a dear friend, and Professor Sanjeev Siridharan, who invited me for this beautiful course, where we virtually met every Thursday, and it was on dynamic evaluation. Pretty much very academia focused is what I thought when I entered. But it turned out to be something so heartwarming, and there's so much of connection, and I got to meet you, so it was very special. And I remember just in the beginning, you said about since we're talking about forgiveness, so you said something about that the object is not only to restore justice, but to create the conditions that make justice inevitable. And I think that holds true for life as well. Like, we don't have to restore the environment, or there's no climate crisis, or, we just create an environment where love happens. Love is inevitable. So that was something very, something that had an impact on me. And you've written books about, our time of becoming, and you lead this amazing community, which also we hope to learn more about, which is called New Now, and new means coconut, right? And from whatever I've read about this, I feel it's not about coconuts. It's about the connection, the connection with the land. And it's in everything, it's what touched me about you, Manu. My personal introduction about you is how you empathize with people, and how how you're sensitive to everything. And how this reflects in your conversations, in your eyes right now, in your smile, in everything that you do. And I remember that I was on a 100-hour water fast during the course. And I shared that in a context, in the conversation, in a very passing by comment, and you caught on to that. And then, you not just wrote on the chat, you wrote these beautiful words, and I'll have you to sing that for everybody at some point. And those words in English translation were, "Love is the practice of being awake." And oh my God, it was like, it touched my heart, you said that you sang those words so that I could ease into, that I was going to be eating soon. So my body would accept that food, and you saw the effort. So that was I'm so grateful for that, So yeah, and before we start, before we have you to talk, I have one more thing for you. And this is like cheers to everything that you're doing. So I have this little piece of coconut. And I'm going to have a sip. You don't have me on. So yes, thank you so much for, having this movement, which is taking from the ornamental trees to having real fruit of coconut in that land. And thank you for everything that you're doing. And, this is called Returning to Love. This episode, this effort, RTL Talks, is called Returning to Love. And when I invited you for this, you said to me that you wanted to talk about the role of aloha in planetary awakening. And I almost felt that was an answer to how to return to love. So over to you, Manu. Let's start with that vibration of these words, returning to love. and the role of aloha in planetary awakening. So let's start with that.
Alana kahi moe lana mali e a oia I o. He I o kumu he I o lau. He I o lono a ke alu. E ho ulu mai, e ho ulu mai. E ho ulua e ka velina a ke aloha. A ke aka mai, a ke aka mai. A ke aka mai. He inoa no ku'u mau hoa o India. Aloha mai. Aloha Anika. Aloha mai kaua. Mahalo nui for allowing Hawaii to enter our cousin's backyard and sit down on the picnic table and have a feast. Mahalo nui for this invitation, truly. It really was special to know that you were finishing a 100-day water fast. It really was. That type of discipline is something we recognize and honor here in the islands. And yes, in 1999, you came to Hawaii for the first time, stepping outside of India and recognized something deeper inside yourself. This is what islands do to people. This is what Hawaii does. Everyone that comes off the plane, they say, and I stepped off the plane and I felt I came home. It's a lovely feeling to know that the temperature, the idea of blue and blue, what I know about blue water, blue sky, is blue is the ancient color of love. Ancient.
Wow.
I see it in India. I know it in Turkey with the artwork there. I feel it in Aboriginal lands, and in Hawaii, blue is the color of love. And so, you know, blue ocean, blue sky, it's that vibration. It's that vibration, you know, and I know green is the chakra of the heart, but blue is the ability to speak it out. And then when you can watch your words, you begin to be meta-conscious of what you're doing with them. So you did come to a place of blue water and blue sky, and yes, we are natural in our understanding, but and we struggle like everyone does with modernity, but we do have what it is that you recognize in Sanjeev's class. You know, he you know, and I say this with so much affection. From India, you folks can understand different kind of people because of the unique differences that you hold. But when you find us and you can see what it is that you are recognizing, you're recognizing it in yourself. And that's why Sanjeev and I work together, because he sees the purpose of Hawaiian thinking and how it can synergize with the ike kupuna of your people, the knowledge of your people, that makes sense because of everything, that makes sense because of our needs. And so this talk for me is exactly what you are hoping for, and that is the centrality of what aloha means for worldwide awakening. This the essence of all form. You know, we call it the mo'o. Mo'o for us is like this big lizard. But the lizard is only because you can see the backbone, and the backbone has continuity. So it's a metaphor for continuity. So my work is to describe what continuity looks like and how continuity is embodied in the essence of our ideas. And so whether it's evaluation or education or health, there's always an essence that continues while the form changes radically throughout the years. And so for us in Hawaii, the essence is always aloha. It's kind
Wow.
of simple. It's simple. It's simple, but it's challenging to practice. And
Mm,
after all these years of trying to figure out the intelligence of what this and that means, it just boils down to loving. And
wow.
and I know it's that simple. And I have to say, I went to India to follow the footsteps of the Buddha because you folks, 2,000 years ago, 2,000 plus years ago, birthed the awakened one. And of course, his thinking became diffused in the world because it was brilliant, and it actually speaks about all philosophers that have endured. The focus is that we endure because of our mutual causal relationality. He called it paticca samuppada, or dependent co-arising. And whether you call it something that stimulates the brain, it really does come from the heart. And so sometimes people use the mind to get to the heart. It doesn't matter, but eventually you're going to get there. that's where the mo'o lives, is in how we care for one another. And so,
Mm,
but that, following the footsteps of the Buddha, I was able to go to India, and oh my goodness, what a
wow.
country. Oh my God, what a country. You know what I mean? And I could see why Buddha was kicked out, or not kicked out, how he expanded into a larger arena. But he was housed and nurtured, and he developed the quality of understanding. We call it simultaneity, aloha aku, aloha
Mm,
mai. As you sow, so shall you reap. You know what I mean? So when I work with teenagers, I say, you guys, it's not about love. It's about loving.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be just say like, why am I not loved? Nope. Ask a better question. How can I love? How can I love
Wow.
better? Yeah.
And I think when you're in that space of asking, how can I help? Like I watched this series called New Amsterdam on Netflix. And, it started with there. It changes the whole vibration of things. Like he just keeps saying, how can I help? And that's
Yeah.
that's the way to start with any problem, or whatever looks like problem.
Doesn't
So,
it?
so yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah.
Doesn't it change everything? Doesn't it change everything? So how can I help becomes, how so everyone wants to have a complicated. I remember when the Dalai Lama came in to Hawaii, my sister went, and she said she got the simple phrase, be kind, and everybody wanted to make it complex, 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 and they almost went out angry, the people who went to this event, because all he said is be kind,
Mm,
practice gratitude.
mm,
And there is an energy that expands and includes, expands and includes. So when you're kind, you know what I mean? Like everything changes. Everything
yeah,
changes.
yeah,
Every,
yeah. But
yeah.
Manu, I want to ask you because a lot of people, there's this whole conversation about, what is your purpose in life and those kind of things. And we call it gifts. One way we feel that you can return to love is if you recognize what your gifts in life are and
Mm,
have the courage to practice those gifts. So I want
mhm,
to go a little deeper in your journey. You've done your doctorate from Harvard, and you've been to all the big schools, and you've mentored a lot of people pursuing their PhD as well. Was there a moment in your life, when you recognized that indigenous knowledge is, what is going to be um, what you want to live and teach and celebrate? What was that one moment when you realized that this was your gift? You were suddenly awakened to that moment.
mm. Well, thank you for that question, Anika. There's a lot to that. But I have to say, I only went to Harvard because Howard Gardner was there. If Howard Gardner was at, Berkeley Community College, I would have gone there. So one of the main, and Howard Gardner developed the multiple intelligence theory. And I am not an academic. I'm in the academic milieu, but I am not an academic. I had to be because I was at a place like Harvard, but it was because sports saved my life. I'm an athlete, and I was kind of paid to go to the universities because I could play volleyball really well.
Wow.
And so volleyball, basketball, on track and field. And so in the 70s, I was recruited to play volleyball at UC Santa Barbara. But I wrecked my knees. And I've had 5 operations on my right knee and 2 on the left. And so that changed everything for me. I became a coach, and the basketball coach at UH Hilo, where I was working at, put down a piece of paper and said, you have to study this guy. And it was Howard Gardner on multiple intelligence theory. And, Hawaii has been colonized, and it is currently occupied by the United States. And so the United States has taken over our school systems for the last 130 years. So in this school system, somebody like me, who didn't really read and write well, and math, I don't do well at math. So I was a very, very bad student, but I found my purpose outdoors. And so you have to save yourself as a child. So now as I'm nearing 70, I feel like I am dedicated to diverse knowledge systems, period. So one of the knowledge systems that intelligences that Howard Gardner developed, he had 7 at the time, and one of them was bodily kinesthetic intelligence. So I said to myself, what? Someone's calling me intelligent? Like, yeah. I used to dunk a basketball. I was the only woman I knew that could dunk a basketball because I jumped really high. Oh. So that was my excellence. You're right. You have to find an excellence that you feel like you get out of bed for. You practice, you discipline. Discipline is such a joy. If that joy in discipline keeps expanding your excellence, there's no telling where you can go. And it could be cooking bread, it could be singing, it could be playing music, it could be taking care of children. That form of excellence is I call it ike ono. It is delicious. And so when that's taken away, what do you do? And so I had to go to Harvard. I had to go to find out why my people were considered unintelligent. And I discovered it's our own understanding of what intelligence is that makes us feel less than. Our own. Nobody else, of course they have systems, but those systems we agree to. And so after Harvard, I came and helped develop the Hawaiian Charter School movement because we're not dumb. I'm not dumb. I'm just different kind of intelligence. But it was your people. It was Sanji who really understood my writing, because personally, I honestly think that the writing comes from another place. That's what Ho'oulu means, my first book. Ho'oulu means to be possessed and to do things like you've never done before. And, didn't know really how to write, but I had to figure it out as I was at Harvard. And so they say to me, what did you learn? What did you learn at Harvard? I go, that's easy. I've got it. We have what we need, and we are who we need.
Wow.
That's
so well
that's
said.
what that's so basic.
Wow. We have what we need. We are who we need. Wow.
And so the discussion was, what is intelligence? What is intelligence? And I had to really ask my people, what do you view as intelligence? And you know what they told me over and over in a million different ways? It's knowing how to love. It's knowing how to love. Knowing how to love. And I thought, wow, aloha is our true intelligence? What are you kidding? Wow. I felt intelligent. So
Wow,
it has,
that's so beautiful. I want to seize this moment, and just pause for a bit to really absorb what you just said about. You said, and you realize that I am intelligent. I mean, it's about you know how they say that you create your narrative in life, and you get
yep,
direction from that narrative.
yep,
So yes, I mean that's what you were doing, and this constant reflecting about your purpose is what kind of gave you that not just a direction but also courage. Because
yes,
if we define ourselves in very worldly ways, you know,
nice,
we 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 get
nice.
lost. We become wanderers. While it's
That's
beautiful to be wanderers, but it's also beautiful to feel like you've arrived. And and I love how you redefine the word discipline. It's like so much joy in discipline. I mean, while a lot of
totally.
people feel like, yeah, I mean, whether it's an exercise routine or something. I remember in that presentation, where I presented, I had this slide where I wrote, train your mind to see
Yep,
love in everything. And that also caught your attention. And I think it's coming from that space again, like
that's right.
discipline your mind. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yes.
and, and when you're doing that over and over again, and Manu, one of the other things that I've realized, like I've been working in behavior change, communication, that space for some time. And sometimes it's harder to change as individuals, but if we have an environment of that,
Hmm.
the same thing, it's easier, it comes more naturally. So, one of the
Hmm.
things that I experienced in the class and your and Sanjeev's energy was um, the role of individuals in the collective. We
Nice.
saw a glimpse of that in the
Yep,
class, and that's what it is. So, we
yep.
think that when we are working on our individual awakenings, or like our purpose, we're just working on ourselves, but what we
Mhm.
really are doing is it's a gift to the world as well, because you're
Yeah.
contributing to that collective consciousness, and you're contributing to that collective awakening of sorts. So
That's right.
so with that, I want to ask you specifically about these words, um, aloha and ono.
Hmm.
I want to go a little deeper into that, because a lot of people use aloha as a greeting, like namaste. Um, I didn't learn about aloha in words. I experienced it, when I was there, in people, like I said, and also in your energy, and also in Sanjeev's energy. So what is aloha to you
Yeah.
personally? Yeah.
Oh gosh, okay. What is aloha? You know, aloha is what it does and inspires. Aloha is the primal source of our collective evolution. It really is. And what I mean by that, it's people used to say, aren't you mad when you say drink aloha or aloha termites or aloha insurance company? I used to get mad at that. Now I go, no, they're plugging in. They're plugging in to the potential of what this shared purpose that we all are growing into. And that is learning how to love. So aloha is an elemental force that is the source of all other values. So whether you use it as a greeting, whether you use it as a farewell, whether you use it as a synonym for deep loving, compassion, whatever you use it for, it's you. It's not the word. It's you and the purpose and the vibration of what you bring to it that is what it is. And so it's not a thing. It's an activating principle that you embody to express. So I like to talk about values and how and what they do, not what they are. So it's
Mm.
like we're moving from nouns to verbs, and yet everybody recognizes what that verb energy is, and yet
Mm.
we just put a lid on it and make it a noun. But no, it's just like
Mm.
this. It's a permeating essence of energy. Aloha is a source. And Rumi, one of my favorite poets from
Mm.
uh, 800 years ago, said, "Be source, not result." And so for me, it's like be aloha. Not result. Just be aloha, and express that in your joy for living and for life. So yeah, aloha is a source. And yes, people say it's a value, but my friend Puloma says it's the mother of all values. So, and it
Wow.
really is. It's not like you got to stay joyful all the time. Aloha is absolute compassionate care for others, and it's um
Mm.
it's not a ha ha he he kind of joy, but it's the joy that gets me up out of bed in the morning. You know what I mean? To
Mm.
do my prayers and to touch the face of infinity every morning. That's aloha. That's
Wow.
aloha too.
We introduced this special segment last time. I'm a storyteller and I love stories, so I'm
Okay.
kind of getting in that mode. Um, so we introduced this special segment. Our first episode was with Chitpreet Singh, and I gave him a few situations, and I asked him to, think of any verse that comes to mind. So I'm gonna put you on spot, and we're
Okay.
gonna have a little bit of an activity. So I'll just say a few things that come to mind. I'm not prepared for this segment right now. It just came to mind spontaneously.
Yes.
So I'll give you a few situations or feelings, and if you can respond with the word aloha in what you say, the word aloha
Okay.
must come in that line.
Okay.
So if you were watching someone in some deep pain, or somebody who's lost someone in
Yeah.
or in a relationship pain, whatever the
Yeah.
situation, and you had to say something to that person. So what would you say?
Aloha. Aloha mai kaua. Aloha no. Aloha whauia oi. There is only love here. And the sorrow you feel, I feel with you. You are absolutely in a moment now to express the deeper purpose of your life, and I'm right here to bear witness. Aloha mai.
Wow, wow, that's beautiful. Feeling the pain of the other person. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. When you see all of this climate crisis, and I won't even call it a crisis, it's like, we're just moving away from the land, from Mother Nature.
Yeah.
And if you were to express what we must all do, then what would you say?
Kukia i mauna e olo mai e ku'u. Stand in reverence to our mauna, our mountains. Stand in reverence to the purpose of our elders. Stand in reverence to loving our aina aloha. Ku'u aina aloha. Our lands have always loved us. Let us reciprocate in time by loving back. And that means committing, being aware, and express that loving through policies, through actions, through teaching our children, through educating ourselves. Aloha aina, aloha aina, aloha aina. That is the summary of Hawaiian knowledge: is love land, serve family, love land, serve people, love land, serve others. Aloha, aloha aina.
Wow. Wow. And, if you had a young child with you and you were just, who's just getting introduced to the world of material and abundance as a word, and you were to introduce to this child the whole concept of what abundance means, then how would you explain that?
Aloha kaulana he inoa no ku'upepe. Oh, there's a lot here, baby. And you know what? We give it away. So you take this and you give it to Auntie over there. You take that and you go and you put it back into the ocean. You take this and you give it to your mama. You take this and you give it to the this Ilio over there, this dog over there. Take that. You take care of others. Okay? Maupopo oi. You understand? All right. So Auntie, this my kuleana is to remind you that our wealth is when we give it away. Maupopo, you understand? Ah,
Yeah.
Auntie.
Our wealth is when we give it away. Yeah. And one situation about the elderly, like I have my grandfather who's 91 years old, and we all live together. So it's really special. So if you were to tell the children that, to respect their elders, so how would you say that with aloha?
Aloha mai, kupuna, pehe oia ke ala. Well, what can I do for you today? Would you like some water? Here's some food. Do you have a minute to kuka with me? Can I sit and talk story with you? E olu olu mai. I hear that you were with our great grandmother in the 1940s. What were you doing? Do you remember? I can do a song. I can sing a song for you right now. And then I'd sing. So, for babies and for children, I exhibit the what I'd like them to repeat. You don't just tell them. You take care of your elders, and you feed your elders, and you're there to clean your kupuna, and you're there to talk with them. And then the children see that. So we don't really, the whole ma'a idea of discipline is not in the telling. It's in our word for knowledge is ike, to see. So you want them to see the right behavior. You want them to see how I have treated my elders, and I learned that from how people that were older than me treated our kupuna at that time in the 60s. I so appreciated what I learned, so that when I was a teenager, I was in charge of taking care of the aunties when they drank too much, taking care of putting them all to bed, and watching them. But no one told me that I watched them do that in earlier life. So yeah, you express your knowledge. Yeah, you express it. You don't just tell people. Yeah.
And I think the power of words, I learned the word for the elderly is kapuna, and you translated it for me saying that it's the beloved elders. So it's a vibration, that makes such a huge difference. And same with aloha, same with I from there I want to understand a little bit of Papu Aloha and its significance, and you're preserving a lot of sacred sites as well. So I could you elaborate on that? Could you share a little bit about that? Yeah.
When they called the Kapu Aloha to defend our mauna, our sacred mountain, Mauna Kea, it was not a new thing. We had been practicing that on our ceremonies on the island of Kaho'olawe. They've been bombing since World War II, and the bombing stopped because of beloved people, including my cousin Emmett Oluli. They stopped the bombing, and then we were able to go there to start our makahiki season, and when we were on there to begin our ritual of celebration of winter and the coming of Lono. Lono is our energetic field, our elemental form of winter clouds, winter rains, winter ocean swells. We call a kapu aloha. So kapu, everyone thinks means, taboo, don't come. But kapu means reverence. It's so,
Wow.
it means to have reverence for aloha. So
Mm.
it's like asking for a metaconscious reflection before you say anything, before you yell. Don't there. It's a very difficult thing to do with hundreds and thousands of people, to remember that loving is an energetic field. And I believe the kapu aloha is what made that movement successful. And kapu means to have reverence. So reverence for loving. That's what a kapu aloha means.
Yeah.
Have
Okay.
reverence for loving.
Wow.
Make sense,
So,
eh?
yeah, reverence for loving. So there's a phrase, I'm forgetting what it is, but it's something on these lines that you plant a forest and the rain will come. Is
Yeah.
that also coming from Kapu Aloha?
Yes.
That's to be.
Hahai no ka'ua I ka ulula ao is our proverb, or olelo no e ao. Hahai no ka'ua I ka ulula ao. We have three ways to interpret language and words. The first way is the ho'opukaku, which is the literal. So hahai no ka'ua I ka ulula ao is a forest, when it's planted, will gather rain. And then the deeper translation or interpretation is called kauna, and that is the metaphoric and the multiple and the poetic. But the deepest one is called the noahuna, and this is the purpose of language, I believe, is to have a relationship with the symbols. All languages are language is a symbolic representation of meaning, but it means nothing if we don't share the same meaning. So the noahuna for hahai no ka'ua I ka ulula ao, for me, means share purpose with others and transform the world. Share purpose with others, because you can see purpose, all the individual trees, and then we gather the rain, and that's our shared purpose, and then the rain drenches us, and then the forest expands and changes. So that's what that proverb means to me. That's my interpretation. So when you get the cultural language police coming after me, I say, thank you very much, but that's not what it means to you, but that's what it means to me. And no one can tell you otherwise, because I have seen the rains come into a forest, and I've seen the forest change. And if you're planting a forest with people to me are trees, and your tree in India and my tree over here in Hawaii and all the other trees that you're going to have in your podcast, we are collecting the moisture for the transformation the world is asking for. I mean, like, why not?
Wow,
Why not see it
that's so beautiful.
I mean,
we're collecting the moisture, the transformation that the world is asking for. Wow, those are very, very powerful words. And I remember you used this term somewhere in the class, oh mama, something, because you say that the language is just the medium in which the communication occurs. And so many times, we just feel so limited by language. And the language here that you're talking about is not the language of words. You're talking about the environment, the forest, the aloha aina, right? So, and the communication here is like, when you're in reverence, when you love someone and something so deeply, then you don't have to think a lot about how to care for them. It just comes to you. So,
and
I think
you don't need to use language. You don't need
to
use
language. Yeah. I think that's also, I won't say a shield, but a tool that the so-called intelligence kind of made it look like, people can speak better, know better, but often not,
Nice.
I used to visit a village where I didn't understand that word, Bengali. And I made it my purpose not to learn, because I wanted to practice talking with others, and we formed such deep connections, and I still have after all these years, So
Yep.
yeah, unlearning, like I say. So,
So that's why words are almost too late. It's the intention, and people know that. They feel it. Children feel it. Dogs know it. You know what I mean? So it's not really in the language. It's in the languaging. It's in the quality of what we're meant to express. That's why when we do our chants in Hawaii, because we're relearning our oli, our chants. I always tell people, those of you who know it, sing with me. Those of you who are learning it for the first time, hum, and
mm,
connect with the energy of what we're saying. And all we're saying is, please, may I ask permission to come in and learn these things. So, e homai at the beginning of class, it was a ritual of shared essence so that we proceeded in the class with reverence. And so that was just a way to express to everyone that this is not your average class. We're not going to bore you. We're interested in who you are, and be of service to what loving can be in the world.
yeah,
And Sanjeev really allowed that to happen, and that's
mm,
from your people. You know, the American professors would never do that. Absolutely never.
mm.
So your countrymen started that. Really appreciate that.
And I think that's one of your roles, from what I understand, in the at the University of Hawaii, because there are students from all over the world. There's teaching staff from all over the world. But
Yeah.
if they come there and get only the knowledge that is available everywhere else, then that experience will not be so complete. So you bring in the indigenous indigenous knowledge and the traditions, and you integrate it with the learning process, and that's what makes it so whole and so complete. So you go
Did you
back with all of that. Yeah.
did you feel the richness in the world coming together, listening to all these Hawaiian programs? And
Yeah.
for me, the Hawaiians, and these were for me the most beloved in very rural areas, in like 4 different islands, and they
Mm,
gave their, they just gave their best. But wasn't it lovely to have that mixture of world and local, world and aloha,
mm,
intelligence and continuity. So that's all indigenous means, Anika. It's a synonym for continuity. So if people want to
mm.
know how to continue on this planet, um, talk to the people of place. We have ideas. No one's really listening, but they're beginning because they're desperate. But we have to deconstruct capitalism, number one. And we have to reconstruct a sharing economy again. And so everyone is like, what do you mean by that? I go, "Yeah, we're doing it right now. We're doing it right now. You made a lei and you bought a coconut."
Wow. Can you
You
tell
know?
me a little bit about that movement, about the new now? It's called
Yes,
New Now, right? NIU, New
NIU.
Now. Yeah.
Niu is it's almost in every Pacific island. It's the word for coconut, Niu.
Yes,
So
yes.
yes, well, when America colonized us by 1898, when they annexed Hawaii, they basically took all the coconuts down. By 1960, when became 1959 a state, there were no coconuts in the coconut trees around Honolulu and Waikiki, because the coconuts trees became a symbol of exotica, a symbol of Hawaii, a symbol of, come to Hawaii. So
Mm,
coconuts were taken down, and so now we use it. We don't use our coconuts. People do not use the coconuts. I know it sounds crazy, but we only basically give it to tourists, and we don't understand the brown coconut that we can use for food for a year later underneath the tree, and or for oil making, etc. So now I've learned from a southern Sri Lanka man who is my friend Indrajit Gunasekara. Indrajit um, is my teacher of all things coconuts, and we started Niu Now about 7 years ago. And now we've planted over 25 Uluniu coconut groves throughout 4 different islands, and given out thousands of seedlings that we've grown, about 35 different varieties too. And
Wow.
so now we're learning how to weave again, to make oil, to drink all the 8 phases of Hawaiian coconuts. And I didn't know any of that 8 years ago. So it's a big movement, but it's a grassroots movement, and it encourages us to look at our food security issues with more maturity and with more indigenous eyes. And even on our neighbor islands, yes, we have coconuts, but people do not go up. They do not have a relationship with coconut trees. We have 2 desserts, kulolo and haupia, that we make, but we can do so much more. And so it's exciting because people are excited. They really are.
Yeah. So, what does this mean to you? Like, there's obviously this whole love for coconuts and
Yep.
reviving and food security.
Yep.
But what I read between the lines is there's something more. I mean,
Yes.
there's a greater
Always.
purpose to this, and you're a
Always.
cultural visionary. So, what does this movement mean to you?
You know, I've been trying to deconstruct capitalism for 20 years now, and now I want to reconstruct a sharing economy. So we didn't barter. People think we bartered. Can you imagine your people saying, okay, I'm going to give you 4 of this fish, uncle, and you give me 5 ulu? You know what I mean? We didn't barter. We shared. And so having coconuts allows us to practice that again. We are practicing it every day when we take care of our nieces and nephews, or when we take care of our grandchildren. We practice it every day when we give food to our neighbors. But really, coconuts for me is a clear way of saying to people, when they come over and over and over to help us in our development of our coconut groves, our uluniu, they've come and helped us. Thousands of people have come to help us. So I always say, welcome to a sharing economy. You folks have chosen this. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And in 10 years' time, when these are really producing, you come here and have a relationship with this grove. And so when you have a relationship with something that you don't pay for, you're not afraid of, and you know the people that help, that you know the people that own the land, you can actually say to people, we don't need to own land. We just have to have a relationship with those that do. And so
Wow.
to me, that's because I've been at this for 40 years, and I've been saying for 30 years, if Hawaii has the coconuts in our coconut trees, we're going to be okay. Meaning we're going to stop fearing coconuts. I'm going to start having a relationship with coconuts, and then we're going to drink and eat and give away gifts effortlessly with coconuts. You know what I
Wow.
mean?
That's You talked about deconstructing capitalism. I think the answer is right there. When you don't have the desire to own land, a lot of the world problems are because of that, right? There's this ownership thing, but you have a relationship with those who do. So
Yep.
I think, yeah, that's the best way to deconstruct capitalism in that sense.
Ownership
And
is
also,
simply, sorry.
no, no, sorry. And also giving people the experience of using their hands and, touching the
Nice.
soil and, those kind of things, because people may not
Nice.
remember what you say, but they always remember what they do, when they're
That's right.
involved in something. So that then
That's right.
you move away from preaching about something to engaging them into creating that
Perfect.
change. So, yeah, but sorry,
Perfect.
you were saying something about
Perfect.
ownership. So,
I want to say Makahanaka Ike, one of our favorite. This is why your proverbs, if you go deep into their meaning to you, then you can have the chance to embody the higher principles of what they stand for. Makahanaka Ike for us means, by my actions teach my mind. So by my actions teach my mind, meaning don't just talk about this deconstructing capitalism. Um, do something different, Manu. Do. And so technically ownership is just the temporary right to exclude. The temporary right to exclude. That's what ownership is. So when you drill down into the philosophical substructure of an idea, you got to ask yourself, is that where the mo'o lives? Is that where continuity lives? No, I don't think that's where continuity lives. Continuity lives in the capacity to share, in the capacity to understand the difference of when to share and when to keep. And for me right now, that has gone completely, I don't know, off the chart weird. So people are, have 1,000 acres and exclude everybody. And I say to Hawaiians, you guys, no worries, that guy's gonna die. He's gonna die. His kids hate him. They're all on drugs. So it's not about money. And we're all suffering because we think it's about money. It's about the higher principle. And the higher principle above money is relationality. And when you get that, I feel like the most wealthiest person in the world, because when you have relationality, then your individual excellence gets expanded because you're connecting with others. And that's what the class was about, Anika. We're getting to know each other so we can practice our excellence, not worry about other people's, wherever they're at. But when we do know our excellence, we can actually expand energetically by simply knowing each other. And that's what we're doing today.
Yeah. This is an extension of that, what we experienced in the class, right? So it's come to this, And from here, so many other connections that will happen.
That's right.
People watching this and the vibration and energy going out there. And this thing that you were talking about, continuity, I think that we used, I just want to focus on that word we had in the beginning. You'll have to tell me again how to pronounce it. Ho'oponono, is it?
Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponono. Okay. Ho'oponopono. So that's...
Get back to pono. Ho'oponopono. Yeah.
Okay, pono. So can you share a little bit about that also in the context of what we are talking? Because
Ho'oponopono has gone throughout the world in a one sentence mantra, and it's really a nice little snippet, but it's not the Hawaiian Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono, if you Google it, it'll have one statement, and it says, when you tell someone, forgive me, I'm sorry, I love you, thank you. That's if you Google Ho'oponopono, it says that. And that's a good start. But our Ho'oponopono in Hawaii is about mutual healing, mutual forgiveness. So it's kind of a structure, but we're trying to bring this structure out. And one of the main components of Ho'oponopono is pono. Ho'o is to do, to make, to activate. Pono, for me, is truth. The activation of truth through truth. Ho'oponopono. So we're getting back to absolute truth through relative truth. So basically, when we do a Ho'oponopono, as a haku, my job is to ask people, what did they experience? And what, we're gathered here because Uncle Hala, we find the ho'omauhala, the fault, or where the misunderstanding and where the pain occurs. And when it happens, you can actually feel it in the room. People burst out with understanding the deeper sorrow, and there's forgiveness. So mihi is our word for forgiveness, but mihi is also what Sanjeev did in our class when he asked people to respond. So mihi is a ritual way of saying something to somebody, saying something meaningful. So we're bringing ho'opono out. We're asking people to be truthful and to recognize when you're not. And that's only been 24 years of practice for me, because when I was 40, wow. I said, no, I'm a liar. I lie all the time. And us girls, we lie all the time. You know what I mean? how are you? And he go,
Mm.
oh, fine. You know what I mean?
Mm.
There's, I had to learn.
We're
We're
conditioned to say, I'm
conditioned.
fine, you know?
We're conditioned.
We won't
We're
say, no, I'm
conditioned.
not feeling great. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
The question I
yeah.
now ask, I look at them, I go, do you have time? You know what I mean? Do you really care? Because now
Mm.
how are you? And I'm like, yeah, I just keep saying I'm grateful. And I mean that. I'm
Mm.
grateful. I'm
Mm.
grateful. I'm grateful. But if you have
Mahalo
more time,
nui.
yeah, hallelujah. So Ho'oponopono is a ritual way of healing, but
Mm.
it's facilitated and we're bringing it out. And one of the larger ideas besides Ho'opono, the telling of truth, is Kukulu Kumuhana. And Kukulu Kumuhana is when we pool our energy for a specific purpose, whether it's to help Auntie get unstuck or whether it's to pray for Uncle who's sick. We Kukulu Kumuhana, we gather our energy and we put it toward healing. And so
Wow.
there's lots of things that are coming out of the practice that I have to practice every day.
Wow. So the source is, I'm trying to complete the circle of a conversation. So the source is aloha, and
Yeah,
all of these other things, the words that we learn today and the things that you practice are all a subset of aloha in that sense.
nice,
So
nice.
that's something that I kind of gathered from what you said.
That's
Uh,
right.
and yeah, if you're rooted in aloha, so a lot of these world problems, I mean, we don't even need a lot of words,
Yeah,
to solve these problems. Like, it's just like you said, aloha is not a word, it's the act of doing something. It's the being, it's the experience of aloha. It's yeah, so that's really beautiful. So I wanted to ask you the last question, which is, I feel my life changed because I got that environment when I was 17, being in Hawaii. And that was the foundation for me. So I want to focus on young people. And what would your message be to them? Those who are looking for their gifts and who
yeah.
are seekers. What do you like to say to them?
Wow. My heart goes out to all of you. I really feel you. But knock on the door, and the door opens inward. Follow the longing you hold to explore your excellence. Follow your heart. Follow your Ike Kupuna. Follow the voice of that elder inside of you saying, learn a language, fall in love with Japanese, fall in love with cooking, fall in love deeply with yourself, and so that you can share that with the world, because we're waiting for your excellence. We're waiting for your joy. We're waiting for you to feel and to love yourself. So no matter what it is, love that, and let us link with you when it's time. So yeah,
Wow.
it's so hard nowadays to be young nowadays. Oh my God. So yeah.
You're so young. I didn't know you were 70 at all. I wouldn't have ever.
No, I'm 65. I'm 65. I'm not
Oh,
70.
you
Close.
said. Okay,
I'm
there's
getting to
a lot
70.
of talent. Yeah. You're such an amazing. I mean, I won't even say a singer, but you have this thing, love with music, and your voice is so powerful and deep. So, can we end with the song? And also
Yes.
that loving is the practice of an awake mind.
Yes, the practice of an awake mind. Yes. Yes, we do it. We do it 5 times. And we do it 5 times so that 5 is our number of healing. So every time we do it 5 times, I feel like we're healing. We're healing ourselves.
Mm.
And when you heal yourself, you heal the world. I'm so convinced of that. You heal yourself, you heal the world. So let's do
Wow.
Uluwa Ikevalina Akil. And Anika, before we do this, I just want to tell you it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much for this invitation. I really appreciate being asked. So mahalo nui no ko ike aloha. Thank you for allowing Hawaii to be on today, and thank you for your commitment to what loving and aloha means.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much.
So you listen once, and then join me for 4 more times for a total of 5. Ulua e kevelina a ke aloha. Loving is the practice of an awake mind. Ulua e kevelina a ke aloha. 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 Ulua e kevelina a ke aloha.
Wow, I feel so good. Big, big, big hug.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here and for making me smile and for giving all of us a direction through your words of wisdom. You are an amazing human being, and I have so much respect and love for you. And I hope to see you in person soon when I can give you these flowers.
That is really a beautiful lei. Mahalo nui. I wore my pearls today for you, for everyone. These are puka shells. Yay. All right, Anika.
And these match with that, yeah.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Mahalo nui. Have a lovely. All right.
Yes.
Aloha.
Have a great day. Bye.
Aloha.
Love you.